For those of you who don't know, in Arkansas, there was a lady arrested for not obeying the traffic laws as she was rushing to get her dog, who was in the middle of a medical emergency, to the vet. This is the full body camera or full dash camera footage, because most of the time state troopers and state police officers don't have body cameras. The main focus of their enforcement is traffic, so that's why most of them don't have a body camera. But honestly, I don't think that's not a good excuse. There's so many things that happen that just you cannot see on a dash cam. Let's get into it. Shout out to LRHN Cash for uploading this video. In case you're wondering, the Arkansas State Patrol officer's name is Holly Romero. Okay, so first of all, we just witnessed what prompted this entire thing. So in case you missed that, this officer has a green light to turn left, which means that whatever traffic is in this lane cannot go straight. So then we have this blue car here, which I'm assuming, obviously from the thumbnail, is the individual that's going to be involved in this police interaction. So pay attention, I guess. Don't miss this part. This is like what started everything. There we go. Now we got some audio. Oh, okay. Hold on now. This is kind of important. The problem with the way that this interaction has been distributed on the internet is that it has largely been taken out of, there's like 2-minute clips, like what I saw. My exposure to this was just clips. Now we have the full dash cam. We can kind of see from the officer's perspective what may have prompted this whole thing. And Grant, look, I'm not trying to defend them. I mean, I don't know what happened yet. But we do need to watch this part because it shows something pretty interesting. All right, did you see that? This driver went around here. Granted, this is a passing zone. That's what these, I'm sure you all know that's what these stripes are. But this person had to exit the roadway, clearly had to exit the roadway to allow her to pass through. So just something to keep in mind for later. She did basically run this guy off the road. Let's go back and watch it in real time again. Yeah, he had to leave. He had to get out of her way. Now let me ask you this. Why didn't she do this? What the cops doing now? Why wouldn't you do that? She had this entire shoulder. She could have went around this way. Just saying. Alright, so now we've officially, it's 1 minute and 27 seconds in. 12:48:20 is the timestamp where she basically initiates this stop. So I don't know if you saw that. It went away as soon as I paused it, but the speed they were traveling at was around 66 miles per hour. I don't know what road this is. Obviously, we don't have that information, but I will say that this is not a high speed chase. The question really is, what's the speed limit on this road? Wait, we got it right here. Speed limit is 40, not 35. And you see right here, we're going almost 70 now. So she's well into reckless driving territory for this whole interaction. Was it 35 before? Okay.
just pulled off into the veterinary clinic.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? I gotta get my dog to the vet. I don't give a shit. I gotta get my dog to the vet. No, ma'am. He's about to die. I don't care. She can bring your damn dog. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You're under arrest.
Okay. Now, yeah, I noticed that too, Electric. It looked like she was real close to pit maneuvering her before she decided to pull into the vet's office. Regardless of the situation, okay, granted, I understand that this lady is undergoing a high degree of emotional stress at the moment. But telling cops, no, don't touch me, especially when the cop did not know anything about the dog, obviously. So just turning your flashers on and driving around like crazy is more than enough evidence for them to pull you over. So certainly a justified stop, in my opinion. Obviously, she committed many traffic infractions as she was being pursued by this officer. So this was a lawful stop. Again, remember when we were talking about the McNeil case, we were saying that, the objective reasonableness standard is viewed from the officer's perspective at the time. Of course, this cop had no idea that this lady's dog was in the middle of a medical event, and so completely justified stop. We'll talk about whether or not the dog actually plays any role in this interaction here in a moment, but it is important to point out that this was certainly a legitimate traffic stop, in my opinion. Now, when the officer approached the woman, and we'll replay this so that we can get a good idea of what happened. Let's just replay it again.
I don't give a shit. I gotta get my dog. No, ma'am. He's about to die. I don't care. She can bring your damn dog. Don't touch me. Don't.
This is straight up resistance. I didn't pull up the Arkansas resistance law or obstruction law or whatever it may be that would apply here, but you cannot physically resist an officer engaged in a lawful duty. And that's what's happening here. Officer Romero has all the authority in the world to detain her right now and control her movement. And just speaking from a practical perspective, what the fuck is this lady even gonna do? Like, what could she possibly do beyond this now? She's got her dog to the vet. This is as far as she can take it. It's not like she's about to go back there in the OR and perform an operation on her own dog. I don't know what the justification would be for fighting the officer here. I mean, clearly this is the time where you get out and you explain what's happening and you cooperate and comply, while whoever you were with that actually had the dog in their possession gets out and takes care of the problem. You as just some random person, I mean, if you could do something about it, what's the point of even bringing them to the vet? So far, everything that we're looking at, especially from the officer's perspective, has been totally valid and justified. Is it professional? Is another question. When she told the officer, I gotta go, my dog's dying, which is obviously meant to, hey, have some compassion for me right now. I'm freaking out. The cop was like, I don't give a shit. And there's two perspectives that are equally valid here, in my opinion. One, when you're in the middle of a medical emergency like that, I mean, people care about their dogs like they do their kids. So I imagine it could evoke that same degree of emotional response. She was freaking out, not in her right mind, not knowing, what was going on. But also from literally everyone else in society's perspective, not just the officer, she just put a lot of people in danger for her dog. I mean, she could have killed that guy she ran off the road. She straight ran that dude off the road. She ran a red light as people were about to drive through it. The cop almost hit her. I don't know. I lean on the side that if it came down to endangering the lives of people or endangering the lives of an animal, I would prefer it to be the animal. I just don't see this being a dying dog being a legitimate excuse for putting other people's lives in danger. Let's just see what happens here.
Touch me! You're under arrest. Touch me! My dog's dying! This is at the wrong vet. We got it the wrong You're gonna cut off traffic because your dog is dying? Are you kidding me? I had my flashers on. Mama, get him to the vet. Get him to the vet. Go to the other vet. I don't care if you had your flashers on. You
It looks like the vet here is actually closed, and she's saying take her to another vet. That's why this other lady hasn't gone inside here yet. I think that might be what's happening.
And a vehicle off the road. You're going into traffic. Wait! Wait, let me sit up. Oh, bye. Whatever you need, but let me sit up. I will sit down and do whatever you say. Sit up. Wait, I can't get up. I killed him. G12 Hope. I killed him. Get in. Okay, I will. Get in now. I'm just telling you I will do whatever I don't give a shit what you're telling me. Get in. G12 Hope, I have one in custody, one female. Hope, D3, can we straighten that? Ma'am, listen, you can bring your dog in there. They're closed. Okay. Where's her driver's license?
They are closed.
I don't know. I'll get it to you, though.
What's her name, ma'am? Okay, come on. Ma'am, you're lucky you didn't get TBI'd off the road.
Okay.
Because that's the next stage I was going toward.
He had a heartbeat.
I understand your dog
capture?
is in bad shape, ma'am. But do you understand? You ran a light. You went into oncoming traffic and cut off the vehicle. You could have killed somebody.
That's right. Why isn't she going?
You're going to jail today.
No, I'm talking about my mom.
See, the thing is like, you know, this car right now could certainly be, well, it is. It's being seized in the moment, but they could definitely tow it if they wanted to. She doesn't really have an entitlement to this car at the moment. How many people here would go to jail for their dog? The thing about it is like, you're not actually going to jail for your dog. The reason you're going to jail is because you disobeyed the traffic laws and you put other people's lives in danger. So I guess the real question is, how many people would put society at large in danger for their dog? That's the better question, because going to jail is really secondary to what the actual problem is here. Yeah, that's right, Colton. To put it in simple terms, the real question is the value of an animal's life versus the risk to society at large.
You fine with your mom driving your vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
She's lucky she didn't get TBI'd. So her dog is apparently dying, and she decided that she was gonna blow through a light with her blinkers on, or her hazards on, and then she went, yes, in town, and then she went around a vehicle with oncoming traffic, cutting them off like she was running. So, I mean, and the mom took it inside. She's lucky she didn't hurt somebody.
All right, so I guess now is the point where we can start talking about a potential defense for this woman. But first, let's look at this article and see if there's anything we can glean from this that wasn't necessarily captured in the video. This is the clip that I initially saw, and it begins when they pull into this place. So you, as a random consumer of this content, you don't get the whole context of her running that guy off the road, running through the red light, you know, driving well over the speed limit. You don't get all that context. I took some notes about this because I had some initial thoughts and some ideas that came to my mind when I was watching this video that I think, you know, would be relevant to discuss here. There's a concept in law, a defense in common law, that is very rarely invoked, but and is even more rarely successful. But it really kind of comes into play with an interaction like this. And if this had been a person dying, may have been a different story about how this was interpreted. This is called the necessity defense, okay? Also sometimes referred to as the choice of evils defense. And essentially, what it means is that, like, you know, you were in a situation where you had no choice, where the objective right and moral and safe thing to do was what you did, but what you did happens to be illegal. So in this case with the lady, she's breaking all these traffic laws, and her excuse is, well, my dog is dying. Sort of relevant to this. Again, though, this is an extremely rare defense that is almost never successful. Here are the core elements of what the necessity defense generally requires. This is what's in the common law interpretation of the elements of the necessity defense. So, imminent threat is one, and it basically, was there a threat or any significant danger? And it can't be like something that's like purely speculative or something that's been going on for a long time. It needs to be a relatively immediate threat. And some examples I wrote down were, think of like a house fire, a heart attack, or maybe a building collapsing. Those are the types of situations where you may be able to invoke this defense in order to do something that might have been illegal otherwise. The second prong is that there are no already legal alternatives. So, for example, this woman was trying to get to the vet quickly. There's no legal alternative for you to break the traffic laws that would have facilitated her getting to the veterinarian faster. Maybe she has some ground to stand on with that prong. But to further explain it, it basically means that the person had no legal or practical way to avoid the danger other than breaking the law. So then we have the third prong, which is proportionality. This is what I had to say about it, or the way I would describe it is, the harm caused by breaking the law must be less than the harm that is being avoided. Now, this is a pretty big hurdle for her to get over, because it just goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about what is more valuable to society, the safety of people on the road or this woman's dying dog. Obviously, she's going to have some trouble making a convincing case for that to any reasonable person. And then the fourth prong is no contribution, basically meaning that you didn't contribute to the situation that caused you to feel as though you needed to act outside the bounds of the law. You didn't put yourself in the immediate danger. You weren't the cause of the immediate danger. Otherwise, this whole defense is pretty pointless. Like I said, it varies state by state. This is largely a common law concept. Arkansas actually does have a statute that specifically outlines the choice of evils doctrine. And we can just look at this here. So conduct that would otherwise constitute an offense is justifiable when the conduct is necessary as an emergency measure to avoid an imminent public or private injury. According to ordinary standards of reasonableness, the desirability and urgency of avoiding the imminent public or private injury outweigh the injury sought to be prevented by the law prescribing the conduct. Basically the same prong that we discussed before about proportionality. The justification under this section shall not rest upon a consideration pertaining to the morality or advisability of the statute being defined, basically of the offense. So morality is not going to play a factor in determining whether you're objectively entitled to a choice of evils defense. So saying, well, my dog is like my child to me is not going to be a legitimate way to invoke this defense. And then if the actor is reckless or negligent in bringing about the situation. So essentially, if you cause the situation, like the contribution clause we mentioned earlier, if you cause the situation, you cannot use this defense. From what I understand, from what I was able to glean anyway, Arkansas is no exception to how difficult it could be to invoke a defense like this. It's just gonna be hard. And I just don't see many people agreeing with the idea that other people should be put in danger for the sake of your dog's life. Now, what amount of danger to the public are we going to allow for one person's dog? That doesn't make any sense, and we should not be allowing that. I mean, you guys tell me what you think. Do you think that we should be allowing people to do whatever they want when it comes to their dog? Is this the type of behavior that we're prepared to accept as a society in the event that someone's dog is dying? I mean, what degree of danger would a dog have to be in to justify any amount of danger to a person? I just can't see any dog's life being worth putting anyone else in danger for. I mean, we could take this broad philosophical perspective that every living creature's life is equally important, but that's kind of irrelevant to the system of laws that we've set up to protect our society. We do have laws to protect animals from us, but we are not, like, our main priority with the legal system is not to protect animals, it's to protect people and each other. And if that happens to conflict with an animal's livelihood, generally we will always defer to the solution that preserves human life. And I guarantee you that if dogs were running the world, that's how they would feel about dogs too. We are the species that has developed the intellectual capacity to do these types of things and regulate ourselves and the worlds around us. And so I think we've earned that right to say that through our system of laws, we value ourselves greater than we do any other animal. Taylor Maid says, unless it's a police dog. Fair. That's a fair point. Because I guarantee you that if this had been a canine unit, that they would have been doing the same thing. They would have had their lights and sirens on, rushing to the vet, totally ignoring all the traffic laws. That dog would have been treated like a person. So I think that that's a fair critique, no doubt. Thomas Taylor says, if we've earned that right is debatable. Fair. Well, yeah, I should rephrase that. We may not have necessarily earned that right, but we're the only ones with the power to exercise it. So unless someone else is going to stop us from valuing our legal system, then this is just going to be how it is. Thomas Taylor says, pets are property. That's exactly right. Pets are property. I think she went too far, especially making the truck have to dodge there. Yeah. That was totally uncalled for. And not only was it uncalled for and just kind of silly and totally illegal, but she had she could have went around the other way and done it in a less safe manner. And I think this adds to the credibility of why she was stopped in the first place, because she was obviously not making rational decisions, even in the irrational decision to drive her dog to the vet so quickly. The way she drove and stuff, it was clear that she was not thinking in her right mind. Because imagine this. Imagine that the trooper never caught up with her. That interaction never happened. So then she pulls up to the vet, discovers that it's closed. What do you think she's going to do there? She's going to haul ass to the next vet and just put more people in danger in a manic state. I think this is the best thing that could have happened in this situation. I mean, beyond her, her arriving at a vet that was actually open, that would have been nice. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I believe she should have been stopped. The stop itself definitely should happen. She's the one who kind of made all the other stuff happen by refusing to obey the officer's orders once she was detained in a lawful traffic stop. So, I have no critiques on behalf of what the officer literally did and their authority to do it. Of course, I do think it was unprofessional to just say, I don't give a shit about your dying dog. I mean, unprofessional, okay, that's one thing. But, constitutional violations, I didn't see any. It appeared that pretty much every aspect of that stop was lawful. John, I haven't seen you address this and want your take. Shouldn't the law enforcement officer have given directives before hands-on? I believe that the law enforcement officer did give directives before she went hands-on, but we can go back. Let's go back and see what exactly was said there.
All right, they just pulled off into the veterinary clinic.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? I gotta get my dog to the vet. I don't give a shit. Here, I gotta get my dog to the vet. No, ma'am. He's about to die. I don't care. She can bring you.
Yeah, no directives were given prior to that. That's interesting. She just said, what are you doing? Told her she didn't give a shit about her dog dying, and then she went hands-on. But again, there was a cop behind her with her lights and sirens on, following her the whole way. she knew that she was subject to a traffic stop. There's no denying that when you see lights and sirens and a cop follows you to exactly where you're going. The officer here did not need to announce that she was being detained. That clearly, when you're involved in a traffic stop, you are detained. So why did neither lady in the car call into dispatch to tell them? That's a great point. This lady was clearly not in her right state of mind. You know, obviously, if you're gonna speed for an emergency, especially once you get a cop behind you, at least make an effort to contact someone to let them know what's going on. I mean, let me just say this, if you ever find yourself in a similar situation and you have a loved one or a legitimate medical emergency that would allow you to temporarily break the traffic laws, you calling 911 in the middle of that is probably a good idea, you know? Just to let them know what's going on and where you are, what's happening. And obviously, it could even speed up the response time. Instead of you having to drive all the way to the hospital, they could very well just come to you, meet you halfway. So there's also practical implications to doing that as well. But that's a really good point, Electric. If she had just called 911, maybe this would have been a little different. But this officer got out of her patrol car not knowing why this woman was speeding. So her reaction to saying, "What the hell are you doing?" is, I think, a valid question to ask. And obviously, as I said before, she was already detained when the lights and sirens came on. You know, there was no need to enunciate that detention. Julian says, yeah, and even if they didn't get an escort, at least the trooper would have been aware of why it was happening. Exactly. Have you ever tried making a phone call while giving a dog CPR? Well, first of all, she wasn't giving the dog CPR. She was driving her car like a maniac. That's what she was doing. There were two people in the vehicle. One of those two people could have made the call. So I don't think that's a legitimate excuse. Price says you need to stop immediately. I've seen cops escort people in emergencies. There are decent ones out there who do that. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up, Pry, because we have this video, which I happened to find throughout the course of looking at different clips of the other video.
Help me, please help me.
What do you need? What do you need?
My cat is about to die. I need to get to the hospital. Can you
Which hospital?
please?
Which hospital?
I don't know. Anyone is supposed to please.
Let me see where the closest one is. Leave your keys, I'll park it for you. Leave your keys, I'll park it for you, okay?
Now, that seems like not only a fucking badass officer, like good on him, that was awesome, but also that is what a practical way to handle a pet emergency. She saw the cop and instead of running away, she asked for his help. I get it that, you know, this woman wanted to get to the vet quickly. Time was a factor here. In her mind. But I still think it would have been totally reasonable to stop at least momentarily and be like, hey, officer, I'm having a medical emergency with my dog. Could you potentially give me an escort or something? You know, I need to get there safely and quickly. Maybe she would have even taken the dog herself. This could have definitely went a different direction. This woman could have made more responsible decisions about how she treated this emergency. It's not the cop's fault that her dog passed away, and I can't, you know, largely I just blame her for making bad decisions when it comes to how to handle an emergency. All right, tell me what you guys got to say about it. Let's hear it. James says, unfortunately, a lot of us don't see help when we see the police. That's fair. And I'm not saying that this woman saw help when she saw the police. And honestly, that's not what she should have seen. The first thing that should have come to her mind when she saw that cop behind her was, oh man, what am I doing wrong? Because obviously she was doing something wrong. She was clearly violating a shitload of different traffic laws and putting a lot of people at danger for her dog. Price says, random question, how did she kill the dog? She said, I killed him over and over in the back seat. You know, I was talking about one of the prongs of the necessity defense, is that you can't have created the conditions of the emergency that you are then trying to escape. What if she's the reason her dog is dying? You know, what if something happened and you know, that's what created the dog emergency? I feel like she would be in even less of a position to use probably the only defense that would make sense in this situation. Brian says, I'm assuming she meant she killed him because she drove recklessly enough to get pulled over and delayed, but there could have been more to it. Yeah, that's a reasonable implication to draw from what we just saw. Electric says, sure, the cop could have handled the situation after they stopped, but I don't think the cop did anything wrong. Yeah, I agree. I don't like the language that she used. She was a bit of an asshole about it, but nothing illegal about that. I don't mind the cops being a little bit of an asshole every now and then. Everyone has shitty asshole days, so it makes sense. No, she explains in the video something about a cat getting inside the house and her dog doing something. Oh, she explains that at some point? Does she say anything at the end of this? Oh, we might have missed that.
Anything else you can think of or that I need to do? I may need some instruction on the felony paperwork, but I don't think so. Maybe not. I don't know. The felony paperwork, maybe? Okay. All right. Well, I greatly appreciate it.
So I think somebody's here now. Shout out to this vet's office for getting somebody here to help. That's pretty cool.
I'll give her these and I'll take her on in. Thank you.
She goes to give her the keys. Just come back
I have
up.
her pulled up in Atlas, but all right. Thank you.
Yeah, we just have to dig through the video to be able to find that part. But again, the necessity defense, I think, is going to be her only legitimate option for a defense here, and I just don't see that being successful. But an interesting encounter nonetheless, and it goes to show, I think if nothing else, this encounter is a testament to the notion that you should not judge police interactions from a 2-minute clip posted to fucking TikTok or whatever. We need context, okay? And it's easy to take that one clip of her getting actually stopped and say, wow, what an asshole that cop was being. But then when you see that what actually preempted that stop, kind of puts things into perspective. I kind of feel like that lady needed to hear, hey, what the hell are you doing? Because it seemed like she was under the impression that what she was doing was just fine the entire time she was doing it, and even afterwards. So somebody needed to tell her, hey, you can't put other people's lives at risk for your dog. And you shouldn't. That's just crazy. Golden, yes, innocent. The officer is innocent. I think that's the first time we've given an innocent ruling for the cop. Julian says, John, does giving the keys to your car to a cop for them to park it in an emergency, does that give them probable cause to search? No. You have to be explicit about your consent to search. And you can even give partial consent to search. You can say, you have consent to search my glove box, or you have consent to search my trunk, but not the rest of my car. If you just say, hey, you have consent to search, they're going to take the search as far as they can. But you can be a little specific about your search if you do decide to give consent, which there's probably never a situation where that's a good idea, but just saying that is an option. Not only can you give partial consent, but you can revoke your consent as well. Factors of consent to keep in mind. Some states have laws regarding searches, like a cop can search the car with probable cause, but cannot open anything like a glove box or purse or container, etc., unless they find something during the first search. I believe that is true, that there are certain states that have statutory restrictions on what cops are and aren't allowed to search. But again, even in states with laws that are going to mandate this or that, never ever give your consent to a search in any capacity.